Hi and welcome. Hi there. Well, let's do our reading for the week. I hope that all is well with you in your now moment. And I've got my cards here. Hopefully you can hear me. There is a digger that's going like back and forth, so ignore the noise. I'm going to do a card. I thought it would be better to do it out here, despite all the little muddy cat prints here. It's got a lovely energy here in the garden. So just before we start, just to make sure and to see how you are, so you're more open to hearing from the correct place, let's close our eyes, hand on heart, and just take a moment for you. Breathing in and breathing out. Listening to the noise around you. There for you. So I thought I would do our weekly reading and do it as a video instead of an audio, as I normally do inside after our morning qigong. And we started back today after a bit of a break. We've been doing little bits and pieces. I've been trying to do some other stuff with my members, but we are back. So let's see what we have. The energy of this week for our group, for those that are viewing and that view this video in this now moment and later. What is it we need to know for the highest good? Medicine Mother. So I tend to not do the book anymore. I get intuition come through, but I mean, this pack, if you are interested, is from Hay House. It's the Carl Gray pack, and I'm not an affiliate. I do love Hay House because I'm a big fan of Louise L. Hay and have been since I was 16. So it's Angels and Ancestors Oracle, for those that are wanting to know. Medicine Mother, honouring your inner knowing. Trust your instincts. You know what's right for you and what's not right for you. And intuitively now we are becoming more and more telepathic, more and more psychic, so we can feel when something doesn't feel right, when even if we're not in someone's presence, we can feel when they think ill of us. Or if you are more intuitive like myself, you can even hear their thoughts sometimes if they're shouting them at you. It's almost like they are screaming at you without even knowing they're doing so, with what they're thinking, what they're feeling. Their emotions are very much on the surface, and we need to honour that inner wisdom that comes up, that's showing us what's right for us, our inner emotions, why we may feel a certain way. Sorry, messages keep popping up. Hopefully you can still hear me. And knowing thyself is key, that expression, to know oneself. The medicine woman, the medicine men of the wisdom keepers, they journey into the other realms. You may see it sort of said like this, but also it's a sense of all aspects of the levels of your conscious mind, your conscious awareness. So you've got the surface levels that are there, that are out exposed. Maybe now the emotions are kind of on the outside for lots of people, and they're not really aware. They might be being triggered and they don't realize why they may be being triggered. And it could be that maybe 6 months ago or even a week ago they would have reacted differently, but that they're kind of on a short fuse because they're not aware in the conscious mind, or some people may well be aware of it when it's happening, you and I certainly, but others around us, and I'm speaking much of this, not actually seeing or knowing what's coming from the inner realms. And this medicine that we work on, like seeing all the patterns around her, it's the weaving stories that we have, it's the stories and negative self-talk that we tell ourselves, the doubts and fears. Now in Qigong, when I'm recording this video, like this morning, we're now in the late summer where I am in the northern hemisphere, and that works with the out of or acquired emotions, so out of balance version of this are fear and doubt and stress. So that inner knowing of what's right for you, when you're in that core of yourself and your true beliefs, you're actually in the balanced state of this time of year, which is sincerity and trust. Because you're trusting in the universe, you're trusting in yourself, you're trusting in your own abilities, you're honoring your inner knowing. That greater medicine of the soul is the ability to, and our wisdom, our will, our love. This is the alignment of our own Mercury, of our own energy systems, or if you want to look at it from a psychological point of view, it's knowing yourself and knowing and doing that inner child work. You're doing the shadow work, not just the surface level work of going through the motions and saying the affirmations, but actually really knowing, okay, this is in a wound for me, and I honor that side of myself. There's a hurt involved, or I feel now that I can no longer do what is and was easier to do because it was superficial, but you did it because it was the way everybody else works, the 3D world. You now need to honor what's right for you, your truth, your most authentic you, as our page would say. So trusting that the mother medicine, the medicine of the mother is the medicine of the earth. It's nurturing yourself, your inner knowing, your inner journey, and that taking the time to speak to the inner child that may want to react, that feels hurt, wants to defend, or wants to shout at the person that's just cut you up in the car. So that is the little child, and think of that little child. I've got a picture on my phone that Aaron Doughty said about doing this, and I have it on my screensaver now, and I've told a few people, they're like, oh, I love that idea. I was like, yeah, I know, because you remind yourself, because people have their phone so much in their hands, that whenever you're speaking to someone else, you're speaking to their little 4-year-old, you're speaking to from your little 4-year-old, because of all our stories, patterns and stuff will come up. So honor that wisdom, and also honor all the wisdom that you've learned and you've come with, that comes with your heritage. That's medicine, knowing that if the father-mother wound that's there in your history from your parents, or from your parents' parents, or your grandparents, there was poverty, that subconsciously that's filtered down. And a lot of us in this generation, we're here to shift that. We're here to break all those family heritage patterns. Certainly my cousin and I, who's like my soul sister, we often talked about this in our family, on my mum's side, that we would, who she's from as well, how we have changed this pattern and moved beyond, so broke that. And a lot of the star seeds, a lot of those that were drawn as souls, beings, come to this earth to change that. We were called into these families to do that, to change those patterns, to move beyond, and to move and evolve things forward, because that calling of a shift for needing the medicine of the heart. So knowing what your own medicine is, and your wounds are your medicine to the world once you transcend them. So that's general, that's what everything's happening. I asked that for like globally what we are doing. That's, you're seeing this come up, honoring that inner knowing beyond, that's collectively is happening. People are in different levels of that, different discernments of that, of what culturally affects them and what doesn't. So Energy of the week for our group specifically, more Pacific. Mother Earth. Well, feel loved and comforted. Know that you are loved. Know that you are comforted. Know that whatever's going on in your life, and you may now be the one that's the medicine mother for others, is what I'm saying. It's not necessarily for you to do that work, but you're witnessing it in others, but you are also still doing that in reflection when you are working with others. And so feel loved and comforted in yourself, and love and comfort yourself. Nurture, Earth Mother Gaia is held. We are being held by this beautiful frequency of the Schumann resonance, so high now. But what happens where it's high, you have to be true to yourself. You cannot lie to yourself anymore. You cannot pretend or have a pretense. And although this stuff has been going on in the background, surface levels underneath, or you may be feeling it underneath, or people around you may have been saying and not saying it, now it's out on the outside. That's what I mean. It's kind of raw. And so we need to feel loved and comforted. As we move into being more telepathic, this is going to be the norm. So you can't hide that. But what the beauty of that, and the flip side to that, in the unification of that, is that we are more honest. We are more aware. Also, we see that others hurt. And that way we're more understanding and more compassionate and more loving when we see that there's that expression, we're all human, the hominids, as we move out of this evolutionary stage, and as we start to move forward over the next 200 years or so, our being and our consciousness, as it evolves, we'll be more reflective, more transparent. But that love then comes because you see the beauty in each other, you see the beauty in the world around you. And I've been very much saying about seeing the details, see like the dappled light that's coming through the trees above me, how beautiful that looks, and just taking that moment that will never come again, me in this now moment viewing that tree on a different day, in a different time, in a different space, but in this now moment. The point of power is always in the moment. And feel the love of that. Feel loving towards what you put into your body and the earth. On my Nature Fan Live Love Lead page, which is one of my little hobbies, little offstretch of all these different things that I have, and it's about my vegan journey and my love of nature as an artist through the art. And on that page I put a post up about it's Zero Waste Week this week. So I was asking people, what can you do to contribute to this? So how can you, so for example, for me, an onion, I cut an onion, I used to just chuck all the skins away and the onion bit. So you can actually plant the root bit. The skin itself is brilliant with antioxidants. You can have it with some hot water in a cup of tea, and it helps with sleep. So you no need, and then I keep that in a jar now. Those onions, they just get blitzed, they're dry like tea. They can go in the cupboard, and you've got a perfect ready-made sleep tea with something that would normally go in the bin. Or you can then put those scraps and make like kitchen scraps for you to have ready-made compost as it turns over in the soil, so that you're getting those nitrogen-rich soils for whatever you're growing out. Or another one which I think is absolutely amazing, spring greens, or scallions I think you call them in America. When you chop the ends off, you just stick that straight into the earth. It just carries on and grows, and that's all you need to do. You buy them once, and then they grow, and you chop them off and you trim them and you have them in your salads. So again, zero waste, loving and comforting, and what we can do with Mother Earth, the mother, the moon and earth. And you look at this, it's in pregnancy, she's pregnant, she has these butterflies, the transformation, and she's in absolute ecstasy in sense. She's wrapped with those vines, she's got butterflies all around her. That's what's happening. There's transformation happening all over. There's these vines, and the leaves to me are things lucky that are about to happen. The shifts that are happening are lucky. They're for us, they're growth, they're new birth. we talk about new earth. It's this new way of being, new way of approaching things, new way of being in our relationships, new way of approaching our businesses, new way of governments is the big thing. Rather than one leader having one like being the head, and that's the person that's in charge, and then everything else is followed suit with rules. No longer is that the way. It does that template is the patriarchal template. It does not work. You need to have circles of beings where you have collective opinions, because when you have one, you have one. We're all equal when we have more of a collective. What we would seem, I suppose, modern terms as a democracy is kind of a democracy, but not in its true sense in the ancients, the way the first democracies were. You would have each person, and maybe you would assign someone neutral. So for example, if you use the analogy of the way things worked before it was about the power of the patriarchy, when it was still the matriarchal power, about the mother and the nurturing, the priesthoods or the sisterhoods were there to advise. They had the wisdom, they were advisors, they were guides. Kind of like how I feel my role is as a guide. I share my wisdom and my knowledge, but the individuals are there to discern and connect to their own wisdom and knowledge. And before, there was a time that not everyone could do that, so you needed other people that could gift that knowledge. But now we're awakening, and very much like my dream of 400 years ago, when I burnt some scrolls and had said, they were like, oh, you've burnt this, it's like, this is the wisdom, why did you do that? Because it was being abused, and because it needs to be remembered. You need to experience it in order, and to know from the honouring, the inner knowing, and then you're from self, but not from experience of this has happened to me, but from the birthing, loving, comforted creation energy that I've created this, as we all have contributed, a co-creative and a collective, the difference. And when we feel loved and nurtured and comforted and safe for ourselves, within ourselves, and within ourselves first, then we're able to create that. So as a society, that needs to happen, and that's starting to happen in little bubbles everywhere. But then what's happening, or what I can see happening from my own perspective, and I hope this is not triggered, is that that's happening, but it's happening with the old template. So it's very not necessarily, because we're still learning. It's a bit like in the 60s, we were, as Matthias references, we were thinking of paradise and Aquarius in a very Piscean way, because it's this dream, like it's ahead, it's above, it's this magical thing, rather than a very physical, real, tangible thing that we're bringing down here. And the individually going to be very different, like Aquarian chaos basically, and it's the joy within the chaos. So like, please elaborate for the past, how we're moving into, and for future. The arrow. Surround yourself with positive energy. This is important for those of you that feel you need to be protected, or to protect yourself, or feel very much there's a dark entity energy and there's a light entity energy. Now, yes and no. There is a negative and a positive polarities. That's part of the universe. However, you're surrounding yourself with the positive creates a draw, and you draw positive situations to you. Your focus, your energy goes where your focus is. So if you are focusing on something, reliving a thing again and again and again, you're going to recreate again and again and again and again the same situations, or you're going to see evidence for it everywhere, because that's how the world works. It's energy, it's draw, like attracts like. Surround yourself in that positive feeling, and it doesn't mean being all love and light all the time, because you're going to have release, you're going to have tears, the anger's going to come up. Remember, it's very much on the surface at the moment, and you're going to see that coming out. But what it means is when that does happen, you go, oh, it's like, oh, I'm just running anxiety. Oh, I'm just stressed. Oh, I'm being triggered by that. I've got a hurt, and that's triggering that abandonment issues. That's triggering that control issue. That's triggering the loss or that grief of that, or that fear of being alone, or the imposter syndrome, or whatever those things are. So we're very much in this learning stage. So by surrounding ourselves in that and knowing we are naturally protected, when we're in our balance, as I said, when we're in the trust, when we're in the sincerity of self, and by self I don't mean ego self, because ego is not something to be afraid of. It gives us the courage, it's here to protect us, but it always wants to be right. So it will dictate according to your own beliefs and the stories. Your brain will correct you. If you want to create more abundance, for example, in your life, but you have a belief that money is the root of all evil, no one wants to be evil. No one really wants to be evil. So you may be outwardly very positive, and this is talking from my own experience of this, but you won't actually create that abundance, because that would mean to you that you would be a sense of evil. It's associated with a negative energy. But money is just an energy. It can and has had attachments to energies that can be perceived as negative. However, and you control what energy flows to you. So if you just see money as another form of energy, and everything that comes to you is cleared and whole and beautiful and divine, and the money is as beautiful as a rose, it's just a physical thing of matter, a sum of molecules that you're drawing to you, be it a rose, be it a £5 note, or a person who's in more physical molecules that are coming into your life. You don't need to be protected. You want that stuff to come in, but just like your breath and the breath of the universe, holding your breath and holding your breath tight, you need the out breath. You need that ebb and flow, and you need to think of that in your direction of your fall, in the arrow in itself. And at this morning's class we were push and pull. We're working with the energy of flowing, so it's balanced around us. Our hormones are balanced, our brain waves are balanced, our energy is balanced. There's not too much fire, there's not too much water, there's not too much earth, the elements that which we are made up of. So let's elaborate. If there's any questions, again, if you pop them below, I will, for future readings. For my members, you can pop your questions in the Thursday. You can pop your questions in specifically, and I'm just gonna, from my other pack, from higher perspective, from the dimensions outside of time and space, what is going on with the galactic sense, with our higher consciousness in our morphogenetic fields? What is shifting for our ascension path? What is it we need to know to help us in these beautiful energies right now, and the highest good of all involved? Naturoka ayasha haena he korokonaya isa hai honoro ki rakna haya o hona ki lahia turokoro katira kana e na hahai he uro ta ai onu ko te aya ona kaya a ina yuroki na ne kanoro ko ska ira hai aro skoro ra ya no ro e na ya uro ri ya ta e na haya uro hi ya ta daga ro sko. Divine alchemy of the soul, divine alchemy, holy amethyst, and the crystal of amethyst I'm wearing. I've got the other one on. It's that beautiful violet surrounding that colour that you associated with that angelic frequency. E atura ai atitikna ai hai aturo ko shora ai anatiki ai oro poro kananaki enakishka. And that which we say is like the good and the bad, and our roots that are grounded in the beginning and the blessings and of seeding of culturally our body, our ancestry on the Anunnaki, ancient Persia, all of the things that were set kind of on a timeline from that time. That is all kind of come full circle and is shifting, evolving, and we're moving past hurts and out of that warring factions. Shifting is what I think is what if I've got that right. Move beyond the current challenges. We're moving past the current challenges and focusing on what we desire. So what is it you want? When you think of this, if you're a starseed and you're out there and you're thinking, right, well, there's these and they're warring with these, what is it we desire? Because actually we hold that power to shift that. We are the neurons of this planet. We as a collective cultural, collective consciousness that's like a living, breathing entity in itself. And our future selves, our angels that they might interpret themselves to you, are here for us to help us, to guide us to that future path. But we dictate that. We have a choice, and that's down to us. So we move beyond the challenge of the polarities of warring, of he said, she said mentality, but even like on a bigger scale to that country did this and they've done this, and we don't need to do the same as past. And I'm reminded of the video from one of my favourite ladies. I think she's beautiful. Oh, what's her name? Jane Ellis was talking about this recently. I can't remember what video. I'll have to see if I can pop it below this one of her video. And it reminded me of on Gaia in Initiation. Matthias talks about the time of the war between Mu and Atlantis, or Lemuria, you might have known, or Arthurian, or Kepler, the two, and how one energy and power that was for one side of the world, which is sort of Hawaii, Easter Island, and what's the other one? French Polynesia, and all this, and from the water, they were kind of going. And they knew that their energy and their time was shifting, and that this other energy that was kind of moving in, that was more relevant to what was happening on the earth, the Atlantean energy, which was from the Atlantic side, was coming up, and they moving through across land and territory, whereas the others had been in water. And they left behind one kind of, because they weren't warriors, they were peaceful people. Placed sort of in the Himalayas, around Indonesia, up through, I can't remember the name of where it was, something pass it is. Anyway, for this pass, as you go up through this side, where they were, they'd been tricked by the Atlanteans to be there, and they literally used this weapon. Whether you think of this in terms of realms or culturally, however this relates to you, but this is, I'm relating his interpretation, his memory, which aligns with some of my own. So, and they literally use this beautiful technology, which could change our DNA and our healing, and they turned it against, ramped it up. So everything within like a certain radius was literally plants, animals, humans, buildings, mass to dust, to and that culturally is in our genetic fear of that kind of, when there's a war coming together, and that's for sound technology. It left traces within religious texts for like the walls of Jericho and all this other stuff. It just, that was never allowed to be used in that way again. It's that one has to end. But yes, that let off an understanding. That was one of the mistakes the Atlanteans did, of many, but still. Now, we have stuff going on in our world right now that you could look at and feel that it could potentially be quite a bad frequency, somewhere we wouldn't be willing to go to that energy and that focus. And what this is saying is we need to move beyond those historical patterns that are there, those past wounds and hurts of this sort of thing happening again and again and again and again and again and again, and that's how territorial sort of shifts happen. We don't need it to be a territorial shift. It's a consciousness shift. It's air, Aquarian, it's air in the air. It's the way of thinking that's shifting. So we can move beyond. We can move beyond that challenge of war and focus on what we want. What kind of world do you want to live in? Focus on that being the case. Every time, switch off the news. I don't watch the news at all anymore. I never needed to. Whatever I need to know has always flowed to me, information. I trust my divine guidance more than I trust anything else that is from someone else's perspective. And I focus on what I desire, even if I'm being shown something that is a truth. I'm not saying stuff isn't happening or is or isn't. That's, everyone has a perspective and will create what they need to see, what they believe. But focus on what you desire. Peace. Peace within you, peace within our world, happening as quickly as possible. And the more of us that do that, the quicker that can happen. That doesn't mean that things aren't going to happen, that you will open your heart when you see them. But if you keep your focus going, we're moving beyond this. This is going to be a greater good for this. The lessons that will come out of this will be immense. We are naturally protected in this amethyst and holy amethyst. We have that. And if you look, if you remember, those of you that follow me and those that you are in my morning Qigong, there's meditations that I created for you to put on literally your light suit. And it's not because you need protection. Think of it more like washing. Daily energy is your brushing your teeth. It's your clearing. And that's what, look, she's got over her high heart, she's got her wings expanded. They're a metaphor for you being in your heart space. If you watch this morning's video, we talk about this being here, breathing into that and then breathing out, being one with everything. So focus on what it is you desire, and we can bring that into being. That's what's so magical. These are just communications with beyond. Commander Ashtar, call to action. Take charge, lead by example, walk the talk. Well, basically this is, and he's got his wings there, he's already expanded. That deep blue, going beyond the polarity, holding the light sometimes means that we light up for the dark. And one of the things I wanted to say in reference to this, actually, to add, I want to keep this video quite short, at least below 40 minutes. So darkness is a tangible energy. Now, whether you personally see this as angels and demons in a battle, fine, or negative and positive polarities and frequencies, or high vibration, low vibration, you can actually see it kind of affect people. So, and affect yourself. Like, you might come over all stressed or all like with frustration or really emotional, and your grief might overwhelm you. And in a sense, it's like it almost takes over your body, like you're become possessed with the grief, or physically taken over by the anger, or triggered so much so that it is the expression blinded by our anger. And it's not that we're putting it onto something else. Just when you start to become aware and awake, you're aware that actually it's a tangible thing. It's the emotional body, the fields, the different fields affecting each other and moving up against each other and butting in and from other people's fields. But when you're more awake and aware, you can be aware of your fields. You can move with flow. You can allow in or not, or choose, and it's a choice. And all the light workers that I know that view my stuff, this is our call to action, to remind ourselves, to lead with example, to be the light for others, to remind them not to get caught up in all the stories or all the triggers or all the emotions. You are not your, as I say in my meditation, you are not your emotions, you are not your thoughts. You are the one perceiving and in awareness of, because your thoughts, as we know and science tells us, doesn't actually come from the brain. The brain receives it from here, outside. That's why they have these things they can detect, and it comes to you. So you can pick from your field, from your resonance, your morphogenetic resonance, these fields around you that are there, that now science can measure. You can go and look that up if you wish. If you're like, I don't know what that is, Teresa. You choose. So lead by example. If you go off in one of those, it's fine. Everyone's going to have a day like that. But bring it back into balance. And you need to do that daily. Because Divine Director is working with you. Intervention and purpose. Divine intervention is occurring. Know that you are being guided. Happiness is your purpose. Your natural state of being is beautiful, happy, divine you. So, as the director, as your soul is directing you, listen. It shouts sometimes and we can't hear it because we're not in the same frequency. A bit like dogs, they can hear the whistles and some can't, but they're aware, they can see it. Doesn't mean it's not there. And if you look at this picture, he has the bubbles all around him. So all those bubbles, all those awarenesses coming to him, when he needs it, he can tune into what is right for him. So let's put some more. Oh, what's to come is light activation. Shining our light and activating the light within ourselves. The internal guidance is coming through loud and clear, so we just need to trust it. So they're saying, what, we're on the right track. Light language that I'm feeling, that I'm seeing behind him. You can see in the background that I've been seeing streams of in visions, is everywhere for us to read, to connect to be with, to be at one with. Now, for you, that might not be a visual thing. It may be a hearing thing. It may be that you just have an inner knowing. But having faith and trusting in your inner knowing, staying calm, trusting in the good in yourself and in others, and seeing the light in the world. So look, not to focus, now this is what I want to clarify, not to be looking to, oh, I'm always seeing that there's beautiful. Yes, I am personally. I always see the best in people, that someone else might see the worst in them, but I see the best in them because I expect the best in them and I trust that best in them. And you can do that. And this is like Louise L. Hay, Abraham Hicks. This is all this of all those great teachers and leaders that have said before. You know, you can have in your workplace maybe an uncomfortable situation, and if you start to look around and see and expect, and it's not always easy, that then something shifts. Maybe someone else gets moved, something else changes. They then start to be more positive. Maybe they were going through a rough time and not aware. It just will change. You'll see it happen if you have that humanity and benevolence and faith. And it's that faith in humanity in the heart of that we are all the same. We all hold that divine light. So stay calm when people might be, as I said, on surface levels, and Dharma is unfolding. Remember that you are on the path. Take one step at a time to happiness. It doesn't happen overnight. It's an incrementation. If your frequency, yes, you can have those, but you're not gonna, if you have a belief system around a situation, or a belief about a person, for example, overnight you might always see that person as, I don't know, what's a good example? Try and think of something in my own life. Someone who's not unwell, here's a good example that might make you think or trigger you a little bit. If it does, then think about why. Say someone's not well in your family and you see them as unwell. You're not helping them, even if you're sending love to them and seeing them as unwell. You have to visualize and focus them as their best, because you're actually sending negativity by having the focus of them being unwell in the first place. So, because naturally we all have a state of wellness. So remembering it takes one step at a time. It may not be able to jump straight to seeing that person as being totally at the best, but maybe you remember them as the best that you've ever seen them, and hold that vision. And every time you think of them, you try and remember to hold that vision and see them smiling, see them laughing, see them enjoy. And then you might notice that actually that person, when you saw them the next time, was actually in good high spirits. They were more themselves. It doesn't mean you spiritually bypass, though. It means that you still can have an understanding, if they're not, that not only is that necessarily your view of them, but also that is their view of themselves, and that if they don't see themselves as well, you can't interfere with their choices. You can help, you can have that positive expectation, and that will help when they're having a positive feeling. Yeah, I'm starting to feel good today, I'm feeling better about things, I don't get as stressed anymore. Then you can have that, or I feel like my body it's easy, easier now, I don't feel as achy today. Then you might see that more of them, and then it allows them to, because the energy fields we talked about when they're backing up against each other are flowing in harmony. They're not in resistance, which is what's happening with all of us when we're not in that divine awareness of our light being activated within. So what else do I want to say about any of this? We are all going through a divine alchemized humanity at the moment, but that looks different for each of us. Some of us are being called to physical action. It's time that we took action. I'm certainly feeling this myself, time to get myself out there physically, not so much online anymore, but physically out there. So if you're local, please do join me. But things are intervening, and purpose is kind of making itself aware. Things are happening in our life where we're having to be called to certain situations, which allows us to rise above and show ourselves we can be the best people that we can be. And that doesn't mean that you're maybe some big guru speaker on a stage. It's the little things that count. It's how you deal with everyday people, the conversations you have. This weekend, great example, while I was away with my dad, the guy that was running the gym, or that was on duty with the gym, was another starseed. He saw my book I was reading, he saw me doing the Qigong and came out and spoke to me, and we had this amazing co-creative conversation. And he was saying, I like feel it hard in this world. I like he's very much aware, him and his wife are very aware, and they said that I don't want to come back to this realm and be trapped in this loop of sort of like rebirth, and because we don't have to be in this realm, this density. He said, I feel as though all of humanity is kind of caught up. There's this with the sex and the food and everything. It's all it's seen like its worst. And I was saying no. One of the messages that come, and I'm going to share again with you guys, that come through from the pyramid, especially reference to sex. The root of the world's chakra is realigning itself. That's to do with the yin energy, the sexual energy, which has been distorted. It can be a beautiful, sacred union when it is in a high frequency. The Oseans knew about conscious conception. They knew they could actually connect during, and knew and was aware of the soul that was actually coming through as it was created and in its inception. And then sometimes that was people they'd known and souls they knew themselves as they brought them into birthing. That is a beautiful thing, and I'm seeing that more and more in people, especially from the Yosoi family and couples that are very much aware and in that state. And the coming together in that union, and that energy can be redirected in your own energy, and it doesn't have to be for sex. It can be for projects, it can be for creation. It's the creation energy that creates universes. So how can that be a horrid thing? But going back to that, and because it's been so far out, it needs to kind of, as it comes back, we need to see where it's been out of balance in our world. And that's why we're seeing more of this stuff on the news and stuff. So that's why I say go to the highest perspective for that, because that's a good sign that it's shifting. Keep in mind love to the traumas of that it's gonna come back around for it to be in balance. Same with how people are viewing their own sexuality and their own belief systems. Everything needs to be realigned to the core, to its roots. What was creation before these books and things and organisations were even built was when it's the spark and it's truth. And sound will help you discern that. Sound in understanding when I'm speaking from the heart, when you hear me, when your heart hears what's right for me, it doesn't mean it's right for you. Whatever I say is a truth for me that I reflect, and I hope that you will discern for yourself, for your beautiful divine being that you are. And something might click, other stuff just whatever doesn't match for you is fine, because that's what will naturally happen as the light within you is activated, as my light activates. This is the Dharma of our culture as it unfolds. Remember the path, it's lit up, and it will be lit up by things. Maybe the obstacle that's in your way is to direct you this way, because actually going down that road wasn't what was right for you, because it's not leading to where you need to be. You need a few more things and learnings before you can get to the next. So love and blessings for September, for the late summer energy. This is all here. Humanity and benevolence as well. Have faith in others and have faith in humanity. A lot of people I see talking about, oh well, there's the worst of the worst, and like this guy, and I'm saying, yes, but I have faith. I'm here to hold that frequency, to remind people there is a different way, because then they see that, how come she doesn't get upset by this? How comes that doesn't stress her? Why is she not worried about that? Because yes, I connect to my higher self, and I feel, and I've had the beautiful experience, in my opinion, of being shown a vision of a future that is beautiful, that I'm walking towards in every step. That's what I do. I'm walking towards that focus of what are we creating as a network, as a group, as a family of souls, a world where we see, where we're transparent, where we're in the circle as a collective, not as one leader and many. It's not a pyramid. I can't say that way. It doesn't top and lower down. It's actually more bottom to top up. We hold those who maybe is the one that's maybe there to say, okay, you speak, yeah, but it's the speakers that hold the power. It's us that hold the power. It's a collective energy. And that's what we're shifting into all levels, in employment, in government systems. So if it's out of alignment with that, it will shift, it will evolve, because it won't work otherwise, because it's not, there will be resistance. Anyway, my love and blessings. It's slightly longer than I was expecting for this week, but as last week we didn't, the video, there was no sound, so you didn't have last week's recording. I will leave you with that. But if there's any questions, anything you want to know, you want me to elaborate, you want me to draw cards on, you want me to ask, pop it in the comments below. If I do readings, if you contact me, we can do them over Zoom. There is a fee for that, and an energy exchange, and I do it like this because I was finding it really hard, because everyone needs to pick, so you can pick the card you want and you tell me. And I have got some new packs coming that actually I'm waiting for, excited about, some stuff to get my teeth into, and the energy of, I really liked, because I love these packs and I use these a lot, but I felt like there's more when I'm doing personal readings. So yes, I'm open to that, but bear in mind, times are UK times, but Tuesdays and Wednesdays are the 2 days that I've put aside to do that. Love and blessings, and have a wonderful week.